Shalom, family. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from YAHUAH, our Father, and Yahusha, the Mashayah, the one that carries the burden of Yah, his voice, our high priest, soon coming King. Hear, O Yesharal, YAHUAH, our mighty one. He is one. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you YAHUAH, the Master of Time. This is part 5, the Great Luminary, called Uyares. Let me reach out to all of the teachers. This is a long video, an academic study on time. Welcome to the battleground. This is where the final battle plays out for souls between two entities, the master of time and the master of this earth, who is Satan. Whose time are you on? If you are on the calendar created by the Gentiles, you're on Satan's time. It's not in your Bible at all. But if you're looking up and you've learned the correct way to count the days, and your Sabbath and your feast days are on the lunar event, you're on Yahuwah's time, the master of the universe. We're in a war, brothers and sisters. Whosever time you follow, it reveals the mighty one in which you serve. Now, what is wrong with our people? They're obstinate. While stubborn may have positive or negative connotations, obstinate is most definitely negative, because it implies a kind of hard-headed determination not to change your mind, even when it might be best to rethink your position. What if your soul and the soul of your children is at stake? Do you think it would be best for you to rethink your position, change your mind? If you were handed facts, can't be disputed. Listen, the Bible says that our people perish for lack of knowledge. None of you have this knowledge. If you refuse this knowledge, you will also be refused. And your children. The Father sent Brother David for this. He prepared me. He raised me up just to deliver this message. We have people who've been on the channel since the beginning, and they remember when the Father first spoke to me and told me that our Sabbaths and our feast days were wrong. And he set me out there on a mission to find the truth. And he led me down each path. I am relaying everything that I have learned to you. Be a Berean instead of an obstinate person. And check it out. Do not come with your predispositions. Your thinking cannot help you here. Only if you follow the messenger and then compare it to the book and what you're seeing in the sky, and you will prevail. Now, the Bible speaks of this person. Do you know what the Bible calls them? Stiff-necked, unmovable. What is their next step after they've rejected you? The lake of fire. If you run into any of these people, brothers and sisters, teachers and mores, wipe the dust off your feet and keep it moving. Because once they rejected you, they have rejected YAHUAH. Let's begin. Henuke, chapter 74, verses 9 to 11. I know that you believe in Henuke now. It wasn't written for the Europeans. It was written for you. They discarded it. They hid it from you so that you would not take this book and find out that everything that they taught you about time is a lie. This information is coming straight from the heavens. It's not coming from the white man. We were able to accomplish something extraordinary. With the book of Henuke and observation, we were able to pinpoint where the equinox would be in any given year. Esoteric knowledge. I'm going to show you more esoteric knowledge today. Verse 9. Thus I saw their position, how the moons rose and the sun set in those days. This is a clue. Verse 10. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days. And all the days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. Again, Henuke is giving us esoteric knowledge. He's telling you something here. If the reader has comprehension, and if the reader has been observing. When these two celestial bodies were first fired up from creation, they both had 354 days. Over the course of a year, the sun had a surplus. 6 days. Then the Alayam added the 4 inter-calorie days, which gave you the amount of 364 days. Verse 11. And the overplus of the sun and the stars amount to 6 days. There it is. And in 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days. 5 times 6 equals 30. And the moon falls behind the sun and the stars to the number of 30 days. Henuke here is telling you just about the overplus. 5 years together, 6 days every year, will give you 30 days that the moon falls behind the sun. What is missing? The inter-calorie days. 5 times 4 equals 20. 20 plus 30 equals 50. In 5 years, 10 days that the moon falls behind the sun in a year will amount to 50 days. Let's go to the book of beginnings. Genesis, chapter 1, verses 1 to 5. Verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. We need to stop. We cannot go any further unless we find out who God is. Do you know this name should not be in your book whatsoever? It's a replacement. Who put him in here? The white man. The Europeans. Who is God, Brother David? It is their father, their master. From the heavens, his name is God Ra'el. He's the one who deceived Eve. He's the one who showed men the blows of death. So all these years in the lands of our captivity, we've been saying, praise God. Thank God. We prayed to God. The Europeans say, in God we trust. All this time you were talking about Satan. You were worshiping and glorifying him. So this name is a replacement for H430. Go to the Blue Letter Bible or the Strong's Concordance and you can see it for yourself. When you get there, they're going to give you an English transliteration, Elohim. But look at the Hebrew script. You see the Hebrew there? It reads from right to left. Let's go through the letters. The first letter is an aleph. How is it pronounced? Ah. You see my transliteration there? The second letter is a lamed. How is it pronounced? La. The third letter is a hey. How is it pronounced? Ha. You put those three letters together, look what you get. Allah. The fourth letter is a yod. How is it pronounced? Ya. And the last letter is a mem. How is it pronounced? Ma. You put those three letters together and you have yam. Allah. Yam. You see the yam at the end or the im at the end makes it plural, not singular. So when you were worshiping and praising God, you were worshiping and praising angels. Did not Shaul tell you not to worship angels? But the Europeans tricked you into doing so. And because you didn't look under it, you never saw it. All right, let's look at their transliteration. They're going to give you Elohim. This is what you know. And you said, since you came to the way, that YAHUAH is Elohim. You're saying YAHUAH is plural. He's more than one. Hear, O Yesharo, YAHUAH, our mighty one. He is one. So look at their transliteration. They put an E at the beginning. And then you see between the L and the H, there's an O there. I'm going to teach you something. In order to get an O in your transliteration, there must be a YAHUAH in the Hebrew text. Look at the lamed and the hey. Do you see a YAHUAH in between those two letters, those Hebrew letters? Answer is no. Here's the next one. You see the H and the M in between, they gave you an I. There's no I in Hebrew. The I always replaces the Yod. You know, like in Isaiah, when his name is Yashayahu. All right. So the I replaces the Yah. But it still remains plural. The Christian church accepts Elohim because it's more than one. They say that God is a trinity. Angels, watchers, messengers. Judaism, they will not speak your Father's name. It's too sacred for them to utter, but they would say he is Elohim. Who are they talking about? Angels, watchers, messengers. They're worshiping angels too. Then you come to Islam. Islam takes off the yam, which makes it plural. And they just say he's Allah because he is one. But they're still talking about one angel, God Ra'el. They're worshiping the angel, the one who deceived Eve. And so were we. But now we're in the last days. Knowledge is greatly increased. We can translate and transliterate this book for ourselves. It is not as hard as you think. Immerse yourself, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Let's go back to verse 1. In the beginning, God, or the Alayam, created the heaven and the earth. Brother David, how did the Alayam create the heaven and the earth? I thought YAHUAH created the heaven and the earth. He did. He is seated upon the throne. He is ministered to by thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of alayam. He spoke the word, and the alayam carried it out. Verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of the alayam moved upon the face of the waters. Okay, so the heavens and the earth were already created, or else the alayam could not be moving upon the face of the waters. Verse 3. And the alayam said, let there be light. They said, turn on the light. And there was light. The light came on. This event could not have happened unless the lights were already created in the beginning. Verse 4. And the alayam saw the light. We need to stop again so I can explain this. No one's ever explained it to you before. Most of the people have no reading comprehension, so they couldn't explain it anyway. You see the word saw? In Hebrew, the word is ra. What does it mean? They observed the light. They watched it. They inspected the light. Brother David? Yes? How did they do that? Okay, so let's go back before they turned the lights on. The sun and the moon were dark. Both are in their starting position. On the heavenly tablets, it states, the moon had 354 days, the sun had 354 days. You with me so far? Then they said, turn on the light. Which light do you believe turned on? If you said the sun, you are correct. Uyares, the great luminary. So the sun rose in the east. Remember, that's a law. And it set in the west. That's a law. And the moon was riding with him. But you could not see the moon until the sun dipped below the horizon. Then, Hedash, first light on the moon. The sun transferred its light to the moon in 1/2 of a 7th part. So first light started in that evening on the moon. Here's a question. How many hours has passed from the time the sun rose till the time the sun set? If you said 12 hours, you are correct. Now the sun is on the other side of the earth. There was darkness there, but now there's light. And the moon, Hedash, is following right behind the sun. As the sun traverses its course and comes back to the starting position, in the eastern portal, which is the 4th, the moon is right behind him. Now the sun has went a full 24-hour period. There was darkness on one side. He gave it light. There was darkness on the other side. He gave it light. How many hours did the moon receive its light? If you said 12 hours, you're right. I'm asking you the same question, different ways. So the sun went a 24-hour period, but the moon has not traversed its course. So the sun rises again in the eastern portal, and it sets in the west. Then the moon shows up. It's a little later than it was before. but it was right on time. Look what happened next. And the Alayam said, man, this is good. Everything is on time. And the Alayam divided the light from the darkness. How did they do that? There was darkness on the earth. They turned on the light. The sun traversed the full 12 hours on one side. Then it went to the other side of the earth where there was darkness. And it went for another 12-hour period on the other side. So light and darkness was divided. Verse 5. And the Alayam called the light day. And the darkness, he. No, not he. Because Yam, or I am, at the end makes it plural. They called it night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. How does this work? Well, the Alayam divided the light from the darkness, so they put light and darkness together. Look where they started their count. The evening. What'd you say, Brother David? They started their count in the evening. Tell me something. Which light comes out in the evening? Is it the sun or the moon? It's the moon. The sun comes out in the morning, sunrise. So how does this work? From the evening to sunrise, 12 hours. From sunrise to sunset, 12 hours. What are they giving you? An evening to evening count. So the Alayam are not counting from the sun. They're counting from the moon here. Go back to verse 4. Let me ask this question again. We see that the sun went 24 hours plus an additional 12 hours, and the moon went 24 hours. How many hours did the moon fall behind the sun? If you said 12 hours, you're right. How many hours of a surplus did the sun have on this day? 12 hours. Do you know this event where the sun and the moon are in conjunction? Happens every month for us. The sun rises in heaven. The moon is riding with him. You can't see her. All through the day. But when the sun dips below the horizon in the west, Hidash, the moon shows up at the beginning of the month. A full 12-hour period passed before there was light shown on the moon. 12 months. 12 hours per month. Add them together. What do you get, teachers? Six days. So we have discovered the surplus that Henuke was talking about. Esoteric knowledge. The Hebrews were acquainted with all forms of wisdom. We have returned. Now, during the course of the year, the Alayam placed the 4 inter-calorie days. Where they go? So you have the 6-day surplus, 4 inter-calorie days. Add them together, they equal 10. At the end of the year, the moon falls behind the sun in the amount of 10 days. Now you see how it happened. In verse 2, there was darkness. In verse 3, the lights came on. In verse 4, the light and the darkness were divided. Verse 4 would be your new moon's day, because you cannot start a count until these heavenly bodies were put in order. Verse 5 starts your count, and the evening and the morning were the first day. We know that in the evening you can only be going by a lunar count. So the day before in verse 4 was what we call today renewed moon's day. And you see on the bottom where it says the evening and the morning were the first day, it's the first working day. How do we know this? Because it starts your count to your weekly Sabbath. You can't get this on Pope Gregory's calendar. Pope Gregory's calendar does not even appear here. Do you understand? Pope Gregory's calendar is an abomination to creation. It does not line up. Brothers and sisters, this is esoteric knowledge. You understand what I mean, Brother Kuya? The Hebrews were acquainted with all forms of wisdom. We are able to discover how the moon falls behind the sun in the amount of 10 days every single year by reading Henuke, looking up in the sky, and coming here to the book of beginnings to find the truth. Let's drop down to verse 14. I want to show you something really weird. Our brothers, Europeans, and others who believe that they're teachers of this book, they say that the sun and the moon were created here in verse 14. Let's see if that's true. And the Alayam said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night." Here's the question. Did you see them say that they created anything here? Did they say they turned on any light here? No. This is why reading comprehension is a must. And then you must understand the process of translation. Translation means that they're trying to add words so that you can understand. Let me add my translation so you can really understand. And Alayam said, "The lights in the firmament of the heaven is to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs." They're telling you what these lights were created for. The moon is the sign of feast, isn't it? Your Sabbaths and your feast days on the moon. You saw it just now in verse 5. And the evening and the morning were the first day. You cannot have a lunar count on the solar calendar. Does not make any sense. And for seasons, tell me, on what celestial body can you find your seasons? You can only find them on the sun. The Alayam have to place the inter-calorie days where they belong to bring the seasons in. But the word is not seasons. Look on the bottom. Let me show you my transliteration. It's in red. The Jews is in black. The word is muad. The Jews gave you moed. If you want to make it in a plural form, you would say muadyam. The Jews tell you moedim. Here's the Hebrew script and the definition. Appointed time or appointed times. Now that makes more sense. Instead of just seasons. Yeah, Because now you can bring both in. The moon has its appointed times, and the sun has its appointed times. Your seasons and your jubilees are on the sun. And for days. You see this? If you want to count the days, it's not on Pope Gregory's calendar. All of your days are in the sky, whether it be the sun or the moon. Both of them have days. They work together. And years. The moon has 354 days in the year. The sun has 364 days in the year. They are a perfect clock, a perfect team. They work together. The sun, its face is blank. You can't tell any time on the sun. But add the moon to it. The moon becomes your hands to this watch. You can count the days. You can watch it grow, become full. You can watch it wane and go dark. And you can see everything start all over again. Esoteric knowledge, brothers and sisters. Now let me tell you the real deception. The reason why they say he created the sun and the moon on this in verse 14. And then they say the fourth day of creation when it's really the third day. The reason they say this is because they don't want you to know the count that I just gave you before. There was darkness. The lights were divided. You could not begin your count until everything is examined and put in place. Then it went from the new moon's or renewed moon's day and went to your count. And the evening and the morning were the first day till the sixth day. And then it says on the seventh day they rested. It's a day. It's the Aliyam, the angels, the watchers, the messengers. Who do they work for again? YAHUAH. Let's go back to Henuke, verse 12. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto eternity. You see that? Hasn't changed since creation. But complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. Tell me something. What's missing here? The moon. The sun and the stars are stable. But the moon, on the other hand, it's all over the place. It's going through all of the portals, so that you can have your time in the sky. And the moon falls behind the sun. Verse 13. In 3 years, we're speaking of Uyares, the solar year. In 3 solar years, there are 1,092 days. And in 5 years, there are 1,820 days. So that in 8 years, there are 2,912 days. That's the sun. Verse 14. For the moon alone, see that? The days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days. Subtract 1,062 days, the 3 years for the moon, from the 3 years from the sun, which is 1,092 days. What are you going to get? 30 days. How many days have we moved away from the perfect alignment that the Father provided for us in 2019 when he stretched forth this hand? 30 days. So you see the moon has moved away 3 years, 30 days, and in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind. Verse 15. And in 5 years, there are 1,770 days. We're still talking about the moon. So that for the moon the days in 8 years amount to 2,832 days. Verse 16. And all the days she falls behind in 8 years are 80 days. Verse 17. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portals through which the sun rises and sets 30 days. What is it talking about? The moon. The moon rises and sets in the same portals that the sun does. They work together. It's one big clock. Brother David? Yes? I have a question. What is your name, young man? My name is Dawood bin YAHUAH. This guy asks a lot of questions. That's the other me who's in the inner me. He's always asking questions. Okay, go ahead, Dawood bin YAHUAH. Brother David, if there's an adjustment that needs to be made, would Henuke have told us somewhere here? This Dawood bin YAHUAH is very observant. That is correct. Did you see any place where Henuke says to make an adjustment because the barley harvest is not right, or that the moon moved away from the sun in the amount of 30 days? Did you see any of that? No. He's gone as far as the moon falling behind the sun in 8 years to 80 days. You see that? And then in 17 he says, and the year is accurately completed. So it's accurate. What happens if you add a 13th month? It's not accurate anymore. You won't find the path of years. You'll be off of the path of years. See, the path of years is that the sun and the moon works together, and every year the moon moves away from the sun in the amount of 10 days. If any adjustment is made, the Alayam must make it. Not you. Because you making an adjustment on paper does not stop the moon from moving away from the sun every single year in the amount of 10 days. Henuke, chapter 75, verses 1 to 2. We just left the end of 74. Now we're beginning in 75. Verse 1. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the 4 inter-calorie days. Is that you? You know, the leaders of the heads of the thousands that are in the heavens. Is that you? Is that the white man? Is that the Israelite brothers? No. These are the Alayam. Being inseparable from their office, according to the reckoning of the year, and these render service on the 4 days which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. So they are the ones who place these 4 days where they go. Can you do that? Verse 2. And owing to them men go wrong therein. What does that mean? Owing to them. Changing them? Manipulating them? Making any adjustment. You will go wrong. Let me ask you a question. Do you know how many inter-calorie days are placed on Pope Gregory's calendar? Not many people can answer that question. There's 7. What is an inter-calorie day? Every single solar month or period has 30 days. An inter-calorie day makes it 31 days. You got me so far? The Europeans have 7. How many did Henuke say? 4. Brother David, they have 7 inter-calorie days? That is correct, Brother Dawood. They have 7 31-day months, 4 30-day months, and 1 28-day month. Brother David, yes? How can they have a 28-day month on a solar calendar? There are only 30 days in every month or period. It is stable. It is clear. It makes it 364 days. That is 100% right. Brother Dawood? Do you still believe that calendar cycle from creation? Or that it lines up with the solar calendar in the sky? If you do, truly, you're obstinate. Why do they place 7 inter-calorie days there? So that they can make the months cycle month to month, week to week, year to year, without a restart. It's the whole purpose. Did you know that? I mean, if you're on that calendar and you say that Yah's days are on Pope Gregory's calendar, you should at least know that. Shouldn't you? And owing to them, men go wrong therein. So your calendar is wrong. Your time is wrong. Doesn't match the luminaries. For those luminaries, look at that. That's plural, right? What luminaries do you think he's speaking of? There's only 2. The sun and the moon. Truly render service on the world stations, 1 in the first portal, 1 in the 3rd portal of heaven, 1 in the 4th portal, 1 in the 6th portal, and the exactness of the year. Let me say it again. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 station. Is the year exact? If you added 3 more intercalorie days? Is the year exact? If you add a day and a quarter to the year? Is the year exact? If you make a 28-day month? I'll let you think about that. Jubilees, chapter 6, verses 34 to 36. I know this for a surety. I've been working with this for years. Our brothers and sisters do not understand what they're reading in Jubilees, Henuke, Genesis, or any book that has esoteric knowledge. Leviticus 23, they don't have a clue what they're reading. Do you know why? Because they've been trained in European ways, and they want to hold on to it when they come to YAHUAH. You cannot. Verse 34. And all the children of Yeshua will forget and will not find the path of years. So you say you remember. By following the calculations of the Gentiles? What else will we forget? And we'll forget the new moons? That's Hadashis. 12 per year. We're just beginning to rediscover them. and seasons. We're talking about the appointed times. We're just beginning to rediscover them. And Shabbats. Let's stop here. On the Ten Commandments, it tells you to remember the Sabbath day. You remembered it by following Pope Gregory? No, you forgot. And they will go wrong. There it is again. And men go wrong therein because they were making adjustments, as to all the order of the years. So you know the order of the years by following the wisdom of the Gentiles? Verse 35. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it unto thee, and it is not of mine own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days are ordained. Do you see that? In heaven, the days are ordained. Do you think they're following Pope Gregory's calendar? What you do here has to match what's happening in the heavens. Let's just go and fly up into the heavens and replace the way YAHUAH counts the days with Pope Gregory's calendar? What kind of thinking is that? Lest they forget the feasts of the covenant. Did you forget them? Of course you did. Came from the church. Forgot all about the feast of YAHUAH. And walk according to the feasts of the Gentiles. New Year's Day. Just happened, right? Did you see everybody celebrating Janus? Then we said Easter. And in the black church, we changed it to Resurrection Sunday, as though that was going to make a difference. Then you come down to Halloween, Thanksgiving, and their number one feast, Christ Mass. After their era, if you did all those things, you're in error. And after their ignorance. Look, in the beginning of the word ignorance is ignore. They ignored Jubilees. They ignored Henuke. They ignored every book with esoteric knowledge and fed you their time. The time of the Gentiles. Well, when I read this, I said to myself, this will be easy to correct. All we have to do is stop following the calculations in the feast of the Gentiles. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I had to learn how the Jews count the days. I had to learn how the church count the days. I had to learn how the Israelite brothers count the days. I had to learn how the secular world counts the days. And then I had to compare all of them to all of the books that are in the Bible to see how YAHUAH counts the days. Here's a question. Have you done that? Verse 36. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons, and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. Falls behind the sun in the amount of 10 days every year. For the first time in your whole life, you found out how it does that. Look, they're going to look up at the moon. They're going to see how it disturbs the appointed times. And it goes back 10 days every year. And they're going to say to themselves, we have to do something about this. What do you think they're going to do? Verse 37. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order. What reason is that? That the moon moves away from the sun. in the amount of 10 days every year. They say we have to control it. We have to bring it back. Can't let it move that far away. Once they've done that, they've disturbed the order. Once you add 7 inter-calorie days, and fix it to the 21st, you've disturbed the order. Look what'll happen. And make an abominable day the day of testimony. So that fixed Saturday Sabbath on Pope Gregory's calendar is an abomination unto YAHUAH. Let me say it again. It's an abomination. Return. And an unclean day, a feast day. All of your feast days have been unclean. It's according who you're following. Are you following the Jews? Are you following the Israelite brothers? Or someone on the internet that you don't know, you're just taking the date? What does he mean by an unclean day or feast day? He told you the first month. If you had a 13th month, it's the second month, the third month, the fourth month. It's according to how many they've added. Your feasts are unclean. He's not going to accept it. Can you force him to do so? Does he have to line up to your will, or you have to line up to his will? You better get that thought in your head. You have to return to him. Once you return, then he returns to you. All of your feast days have been unclean. But we have the first month. The Bible tells you to observe the month of Abib. We observed it. We actually saw it. The moon was 10 days away from the spring equinox, from the sun. In 2019, the 400th year of our captivity, is this a coincidence that Yah stretched forth his hand and say, come back to me, my people? Will you accept his hand? And then he told us to observe it. We watched it throughout the years, from the first to the second year, from the second to the third year. And here, we're getting ready to come into the third year next, after January, that is. I was going to say next year, but January is not the beginning of the year, right? And we're going to observe it again. Have you done that? Do you know where the path is? Are you on the path? Has to be moving 10 days, 10 days, 10 days back. If you're with the Jews, the Israelite brothers, or anyone else, you're not on the path. But we are. All of our days are clean. And they will confuse all the days. Who's going to do this again? The people who disturb the order. They decide to add a 13th month to bring them back close to the equinox. They have gone wrong, brothers and sisters. It's right here in the text to tell you, do not do it. The holy with the unclean and the unclean day with the holy, for they will go wrong. As to the months, Uyares, they don't know where the month is. And Shabbats, they're on Pope Gregory's calendar. And feasts, what month are they starting in? And Jubilees, that's on the solar calendar. 7 Sabbaths of years. Verse 38, for this reason I command and testify to you, that you may testify to them. For after your death, Noah, your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. They disturbed them all the way back then. You see that? But now we're in the time of the Gentiles. They are the ones who have disturbed them. And for this reason, they will go wrong. Man, that's a lot of that we've seen. They will go wrong, and men go wrong therein. As to the Hadashes, 12 months, and seasons, that is appointed times, and Shabbats, and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. The author never lied. Every word is on point. I've checked out every single word. Here's the question. Have you done that? Here we have our lunar Shabbats and feast days in the heavens. Do you know, brothers and sisters, that most of our people don't have a clue how the feast days are found? So you know they don't know how the Sabbaths are found. But they don't know how the feast days are found. The moon is the sign of feast. All people who keep the feast of YAHUAH know you have to go to the moon to find his feast days. Everyone should know that by now. The new people don't. They're just coming into this fight. They don't understand what is happening. They're just realizing how deceived that they've been. But everyone has to find their feast days through the moon. It's the only way. But you have so many different counts. I'm going to show you all three, so you can see it here in real time. Look at the one that says new. See, it's black. That's where the Jews start their months when they're looking for their feast. So they start their calculations, their count to their feast days through an astronomical calculation and a conjunction. Tell me something. The Father wanted you to return to the old ways. The old ways, they looked up in the sky. They saw Hadash. They blew the trumpets. It reverberated through the kingdom. And the next day, everyone went to the temple to pray at the east gate. Do you know what happens when you do that? You're on Yahuwah's time. What if you're on the black moon? You can't see anything. Henuke said that Hadash looks like the one that they put here as young, 1/2 of a 7th part of light, which equals 1/14 part of light. A slither, a crescent moon. First light, renewed. Your first day of the lunar month. And then you can count all your days on the moon. You can watch it grow. Okay, so the young, the one that says young, is Hadash. The gates are open on that day. The gates are shut for the 6 working days. See waxing crescent? There's your 6 working days. Gates are shut. Then you see waxing quarter. It's going to be your first Sabbath of the month. Except it won't look like this. You see how it's halfway through the moon? You're going to see an extra day on there from Hadash. And that'll be your first Sabbath. The gates are open. At the end of the Sabbath begins your next 6 working days. See the waxing gibbous? There's your 6 working days. Gates are shut. Then you come to where it says full. The gates are open that day. That'll be our second Sabbath. The moon has turned full. Okay, let's stop here. Do you know the Israelite brothers state that the full moon is the new moon? They don't say Hadash. They say the full moon is the new moon. See, the word full means kiseh. The renewed moon is Hadash. Blow the trumpet at Hadash. See that? The slither of light. And on Kiseh, full, on the feast day. Your feast days will always fall when there's light. Let me show you where the brothers will lead you. If you count 15 days, 14 days in the evening, you're going to come to the one that says, oh, in that evening, they will lead you to darkness. Do you see what I'm saying? So you may have one, let's say if you started your Passover there, you may have 1 or 2 days in this month. Then you're going to go to the next month to finish your feast. You don't understand what I'm saying? Look at Leviticus 23, verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto YAHUAH. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. Did you see it? The same month. I'm starting to see, Brother David. They're going to have you maybe a day or two in 1 month, and then you're going to go over into the next month. Everything is supposed to play out in the first month, not the first and the second month. This is what you call the twilight zone. It's unheard of. They're here to put a stumbling block in your way. And the only reason that you followed them through this foolishness that they have offered you, because you never looked into it. Okay, so we finished with the Israelite brothers. Let's continue our count. So the full moon is our second Sabbath. Yeah. And then the gates are open. And at the end of that day, the gates are closed. And then you come to the waning gibbous. There's your 6 working days again. Then you come to the waning quarter. That's our third Sabbath. Yeah. Gates are open. Gates are shut in the evening. Go back to your 6 working days. Waning crescent. 6 working days. Gates are shut. Then you come to old. Yeah. That's usually the 29th day for us. In the evening. Then you come to your dark moon again. And the cycle starts all over. That's how this body works. It's been there since creation. This God in the sky. Most people don't even look up or know what to look for. Trying to teach you how to find Yah's days. His days are in the sky for the whole world to see. The white man cannot touch this. But he can do things like this, say that the first day of the month is the dark moon. He can say the first day of the month is the full moon. Yeah, that leads you astray. You have to look up and see something. First light on the moon. Remember, from Hadash, it took 14 days for the light to turn full. So it's impossible for the full moon to be the beginning of the month. 5-part video summary. Send your questions to dawood.bin-yashayahu@outlook.com. Yes, send your questions to the other me who's in the inner me. He'll answer all of your questions. No comments. Definitely no praise. Julius Caesar. That calendar with the Saturday Sabbath on it did not cycle down from creation, but it did cycle down from Julius Caesar. Yeah. All of their gods is on that calendar, from January to December, and then on your weeks, from Sunday to Saturn's Day. Then it went down to Constantine the Great, and he's the one who placed Sunday as the first day of the week, because he worshipped the sun god, Christos Helio, Christ. Yeah. So Sunday became the first day of the week, and by default, Saturday, or Saturn's Day, became the 7th day of the week. Still think it cycled down from creation. Came down to Pope Gregory in the 1800s, and he put his spin on it. He fixed the calendar to the 21st of March. The equinox came out on the 18th this year, 2021. They started their solar calendar year on the 21st. Is it rooted in time? No. Do you know one day off, your day will become abominable? What is the common factor between these three parties? They are Romans. Who expelled you from the land? Your ancestors, which means you. The Romans. Who sent out a flood? Yeah. Ships from every Christian nation to come and get you and take you around the world as slaves. Who gave their stamp of approval? The Romans. One of the popes. They brought you here to America, and their calendar is based on Pope Gregory's calendar, a Roman calendar. It's the only thing that you grew up with. It's the only thing that you know. They fed you an illusion, and it caused you to go into a strong delusion. But you're in an even stronger delusion if you continue to follow it after all of the information I've provided for you. Then they took away Hadash. Hadash is the renewal, first light, when light is first shined upon the moon, 1/2 of a 7-part, which equals 1/14 part of light. Yeah. And every place in your Bible where they put new moon, when you go to their academics, you'll see the dark moon. But new moon does not exist in the scripture, because new moon would be new Yara. That's not the word used. The word that's used is Hadash. Look for the renewal. The Hebrews knew what to look for. Only one celestial body renews every single month. So they gave you 2 definitions, 2 pronunciations for the same word, And they put new moon in the forefront, where YAHUAH does not even exist in the text. And they hid in the background Hadash, so you wouldn't find it. Think they love you? What about you Uyares? What a job they did to him. I mean, he was perfect until the Romans came. Wasn't he perfect? Yes, he was. We could count the days from creation and come straight on down. But then the Romans stepped in and they messed it all up. You got 7 inter-calorie days. There's only 4. They gave you a 28-day month. There's only 30-day months or periods on the solar calendar. They fixed their day to the 21st of March, which will give you the first day of the year, when the first day in 2021 really started on the 18th. They had a day in the quarter. They had leap years. They start their day at midnight. What a deception. Why do you think the Father waited till now to raise up his servant, to bring him to you when knowledge is greatly increased and men are running to and fro? The book told you that. The end is here. When you see this, what about the 13th month? These are the Jews. They actually are adding 20 days, 30 days, whatever they want to the calendar. I've asked for 4 years. Is there any statute for you to do that? Or is there any scripture that tells us to add a 13th month if the barley harvest is not ripe or that the moon moved away from the sun? Crickets. I even went to the rabbis. They told me that the only way to find out how the calculations is that you have to go to Jerusalem. Is that the way it is, brothers and sisters? No, the Hebrews were acquainted with all wisdom. Everyone knew how to count the days and find their Sabbaths and feast days. But they stripped it from you. You remember the Greeks came in the land, they told you couldn't do that. Then the Romans came, they said, nope, you can't do that. Then you came here to America, they said, oh, no, you can't read that book. You got to follow Jesus Christ, the God of wood. Everything here in this land is a deception. This is your final test to see if you will return. Then we got people who hate. They hate Hadash. Who created Hadash? Who put it in the text? YAHUAH. They say your month cannot start from the renewed moon. They say that's crazy. They say that your months must cycle from month to month, week to week, year to year, without a restart. I looked for it in the text. Doesn't exist. The only thing that exists 361 times in your Bible, Hadash, renewed. That's how you start your month. Now I'm going to say something that most of you will not understand. What about the unaccounted day? In 2021, we had 2 unaccounted days. What does that mean? The last Sabbath of our month is the 29th. After the Sabbath is ended in the evening of the 29th, we had a full 24-hour period before Hadash. So what do you do with that day? Nothing. This is a question for all of us who are observing the lunar event. Did any of you even notice that it happened? Nope, you'll never see it or notice it. The only way we know, because we have the calendars to show us. Now, listen to this. That is Yah's adjustment days. That's when he adjusts the lunar event so it can line up according to time. Are you against Yah making an adjustment? You had no problem with Julius Caesar, did you? You had no problem with Constantine the Great. You had no problem with Pope Gregory. You had no problem with the Jews with their 13th month. But YAHUAH makes an adjustment in the heavens. Who carries it out? The leaders of the heads of the thousands to keep everything on time. And you have a problem with it? So that means that if he makes an adjustment to bring the 10 days back to the spring equinox in the sky, you'll have a problem with that too? Do you know why they have a problem with it? Because they say that the months must cycle from month to month, week to week, year to year, without a restart. What kind of thinking is that? My wife and I call it Gentilian thinking. They're the ones who introduced that way to you. From the beginning of time, everyone started their months from Hadash. Yah's ways are not our ways. And the only reason that you're against Yah's way is because you love the ways of the white man. If the white man does it, everything is right. But anything that happens in the heavens is done by YAHUAH. And you're against it. Woe be unto you. What about the days of convenience? See, the fixed Saturday Sabbath on Pope Gregory's calendar is a convenience day, because people are usually off on Saturday. Yeah. They can't deal with the way that the lunar event works. Your Sabbaths can be all through the week in the course of a year. Why are they against it? Because the only thing they know is Pope Gregory's time. If Pope Gregory's calendar was not here, man, you would see no problem in the lunar calendar. It'd be perfect. You'll be lined up according to the heavens. Listen to me. Your priest is in the heavens. The same Sabbaths that you have, the same new moons that you have, he has in the heavens. Do you think he's using Pope Gregory's calendar, to divide the days? No. Everything is done on the moon. The 24 elders are there. The 144,000 are there. They have to keep the Sabbath forever. So they're following the same time you are here on earth. So they stick to this fixed Saturday Sabbath because it's convenient for them. And they don't even keep it. Let's see. They go to their venues or, the places where they teach on the Saturday Sabbath. They take food. Do you know that the Bible tells you cannot take a load out of your house on the Sabbath day? Or bring a load in? What about the drive to the place? Do you stop and get gas? No commerce on that day. Then some of us, they go to Golden Corral. You know, the whole fellowship, and everybody sit down and eat, spend money. You got people there working for you. You can't even have a servant serving you on that day, unless it's your wife in your house. They don't even keep it. Hypocrites. Now, you can keep the lunar Sabbath, which will come all during the week, and you may have 2 of them that'll fall on Saturn's day during the course of a year. But you can keep the lunar event as it goes through the week, and you can still go and have your fellowship on Saturday, and you won't be violating anything. You can drive there. You can put gas in your car. You can go out to eat afterwards. Come on. But your Sabbath must be carried out within your gates, not at some venue. Then we have the return. YAHUAH is coming. He's going to be here soon. It's going to be something. What's going to happen when he returns? The sun is going to be darkened. Is Pope Gregory's calendar going to be darkened? And the moon shall not give its light. Is Pope Gregory's calendar not going to give its light? Both of the great signs will be darkened. And there's going to be a sign in the heaven. Great chariots. It's going to be something. Are you ready? If you're on Pope Gregory's calendar, keeping the Sabbaths of the Gentiles, there's a mighty one on that calendar. The time in which you keep, that you say is the Sabbath day, reveals the mighty one that you serve. Make sure you're on the right time. And there's only one way to do that. Learn everyone's position and compare it to the book. I'm going to leave this open in case we have another part. Shalom.